You're muted.
Oh, I said I was on mute. How do you like them apples? Holy cow! What a way to start a show, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode, of course, of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and we have an outstanding show for you today. We're going to open up. Actually, this show is going to potentially be known as the controversial show. Look, we're going to get into some Halo stuff. Obviously, you've heard my opinions on it, but I want to talk more about who should handle the Halo IP moving forward. I have some thoughts. Like I said, just for an outlier or for clarification, I have nearly 13 days in this game. I absolutely think it is the best Halo that has launched in years. I do give massive credit to 343 Industries that put this together under such um, unbelievable stress. But at the end of the day, when you talk about single player and what was promised, when you talk about multiplayer and what is currently available, they didn't deliver, folks. They did not deliver, and that is very unfortunate. It's frustrating as a Halo fan to see this franchise treated in the manner it has been treated. I'm sorry. There's just no other way to put it other than the fact that Master Chief is a flagship title. It needs to be handled with the utmost care and precision as possible, not a Dollar Tree knockoff. That's not the way you handle the IP that founded the brand. Like I'm sorry, folks. I'm gonna get a little salty here. I said this in the green room, and I will say it live on the air right now. Could you imagine the backlash if Nintendo were to treat Mario this way, or if they were to treat, let's say, for instance, Sony were to treat Kratos this way? There would be riots in the streets. Now, I understand specifically Microsoft has a ton of IP, 40 plus new games coming out in the next couple of years, and that's awesome. But you know what's not on that list? It's freaking Halo. How did we get here, ladies and gentlemen? Right? So we're going to get into that. But we're going to get into another topic. Now, when you talk about exclusives or you talk about penciled in, locked exclusive by third party developers, there's no bigger culprit than Square Enix. And Square Enix apparently has released a giant turd in the form of Forespoken. Now, like I said in a tweet that I posted, I don't know, maybe about 20 minutes ago, we shouldn't be cheering on this game failing because it's on one platform or the other. I do dig my heels in the sand for that. I think the real conversation that we're going to have here is the validation, the public validation that's going to come the way of both Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics, who, if you remember, were thrown under a bus by Square Enix time and time again. And this just goes to prove a few things. One, Square Enix is a terrible publisher, right? But more importantly, they're a terrible developer. We're going to get into that, but we have a special guest joining us today that you've been seeing hanging around. He's also on Primetime Gaming. Crispy Bomb, what's up, brother? Welcome to the program. You come at a really good time, specifically because there's some Gears news thanks to Shpeshal Nick of Xbox Era. How you doing, brother?
Oh, it's good to be on a Gears episode on the BoomStick channel. So, like and subscribe, people. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. Like, I think Crystal D and Eidos Montreal got the short end.
Oh, 100% they did. Yeah.
And I think, because the quality of game that they've put out over their time, I don't know, they're pretty good. I mean, is it a huge seller? Maybe not, but I don't know. Nobody really ever has something bad to say about the games they make. Yet, Square just sells it to Embracer, and we're just sitting here like, okay, that was a bad thing, but all right. And some people are like, oh, this is great. Final Fantasy is going to be even better and everything else. I after this, like Sony, this is Sony. This is Sony. I'm sorry, dude. And I will stick to that, and we'll get more into it.
Yeah, I agree. Sony is, listen, look, at the end of the day, Sony's going to be Sony. They find themselves in a bit of a pickle. Dave was talking about that before. This is the year that we might see. And again, I said this in the green room, and I do want to reiterate this. Insomniac Games has a monster title in the form of Spider-Man 2 coming out at the end of the year. That is going to be delivered. I don't think that's going to be delayed. I think it's going to be one of the biggest games of the year. And the fact of the matter is that they don't miss. They don't miss. Insomniac Games is just absolutely incredible. But at the end of the day, if that turns out to be the only game outside of a few third-party exclusives, Sony potentially is going to have a year very similar to what Xbox had last year in 2022. And Microsoft is poised to have a year very similar to what Sony had in 2022, but they might even have more than what Sony doled out. And they had 4 monster first-party games. Again, depending on where you fall, it is, Gran Turismo in your wheelhouse. Probably not for a lot of people. It wasn't in for me. But you know what? Horizon, even with its problems that it had, it's a gorgeous looking game. The Last of Us apparently is since the show came out, sales have gone up 263%, which is not surprising because obviously everybody wants to play the game. Maybe it's garnering new fans. And of course, God of War. Well, it won a lot of awards. As a matter of fact, we did our Game of the Year award on Saturday, and God of War won the group Game of the Year. So there you go. But I think that we're going to be in for a great show today, but more so an even better year for Xbox and its fans. Let's welcome in Fuzzy. Dave, how you feeling, brother? You put out a really, really, really good interview today. Talk about that, man.
Did you call me Fuzzy Dave?
No, yeah, Fuzzy Dave. How do I know that? That's creepy. Creepy.
Well, what's that Manscaped ad again for you? I'm just checking. But I'm good, man. I'm doing really good. Excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your shows, man. It's an amazing channel, and I love being here. And I had a great interview released today, and hope everybody gets a chance to check it out because it is really fascinating and very insightful. A lot of behind the scenes stuff that you'd never get anywhere else from Elaine Gomez Sanchez. She is a developer, game developer, and she is awesome. So or a designer, definitely want to check her out.
Yeah, so, good stuff, awesome. Brother. Looking forward to listening to the back end of it, and love to see the growth on your channel. You do some of the best one-on-one interviews in the business.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks so much for being here. Fuzzy Belvedere, brother, how you feeling? I know you're going to have some things to say about 343 Industries, and more specifically about Forespoken, which again, that's turning out to be a giant, not such a great game. Certainly not a great exclusive. And Square Enix, well, they have shown their true colors.
They definitely have, and it goes to show sometimes when you put the blame on certain parts of your industry or certain parts of your business, and then you sell those off, and you still trip and stumble. It may not have been them that was the problem all along. It may have been you that was the problem, or talking about Square Enix that is being the problem. But man, it's great to be here with you guys. A lot to get into. This is going to be an exciting week, especially come Wednesday. But man, some big topics to discuss today. So let's get to it.
Yeah, this is a week that we hope that embellishes everything that we want out of Xbox, especially in 2023. Obviously, Primetime Gaming is going to have one of the biggest shows of the year so far. I know it's early in the year; we're still in January, but we are expected to have upwards of nearly 15 people on the panel, cycling in and out to give their hot take opinions on what was unveiled during the Xbox Bethesda Developers Direct that is happening earlier that afternoon. I will not be covering that show live. I'm going to watch it like a fan. And that evening, because we have primetime gaming at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be covering it with a monster panel of guest appearances from top to bottom. Hey, look who just joined the fray. Crazy Lou. What's going on, brother? How you feeling?
Oh man, I'm feeling great. How is everybody doing today? I hope everybody's doing awesome. Mr. Boom, I'm saying hello from Aruba. I'm right now in Aruba.
Good for you, brother.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself. Yes.
I'm trying to. I'm here for business, but hey, man, happy to be here. Happy to join you guys. Let's take this show on the road.
Look at this guy all the way from Aruba, and he's on business. What kind of business is what I want to know? But you enjoy the hell out of yourself, brother. Listen, real quick, the first super chat of the day comes the way a very good friend of the channel, Jerron TJ, drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Morning, guys. I hope they farm out a Halo to let other people create the story." Oh, and Gerald Mack just drops a very generous, very $5 super chat, and he's been a channel member for over a year. Thank you for that. He says, "Good morning, gentlemen. Always great to be in the building. Shout out to Mr. and Mrs. BoomStick for what you do for this community. Xbox order." Thanks so much for that, Mrs. Boomwave. She's in the background. You just can't see her. But listen, let's get into Forspoken. This is a game that released a demo that wasn't very good. Most people like myself who played it understood that this game was not in good shape, even from the demo. And where you started to see some serious issues, folks, is when no one was getting reviews. I mean, even a guy like SkillUp, who is, I mean, say what you want about whether you like his content or not, it's top tier in my opinion, and he didn't get a copy. So when when you have people that have million subs not getting review copies of a game, there's going to be problems. And guess what, folks? Turns out that it's a big steaming pile of poo. And that's really what it comes down to. And like I said, on this channel, I don't know how anyone else is going to handle their business. We don't champion bad titles. We're not going to be Xbox and say, you see, Sony, that's what you get, because that's what people want to hear. But you're not going to hear that here. I think the real conversation to be had here, the adult conversation to be had here, is the validation of both Eidos Montreal and Square Enix, who at multiple times under the ownership of Square Enix were thrown under the bus publicly time and time again. Every time an American-based title was released, it would always fall into it didn't meet our expectations for sales. It didn't meet our expectations for critical review. And it was made to seem, folks, like these two studios were to blame. Now, I got a couple of smart messages from some people like, yeah, well, what about Avengers? Well, Avengers wasn't a bad game. The game's graphics, if you played the single player story, the DLC, especially like the Wakanda DLC, was phenomenal. Where it failed was in a loot box type of game. It should never have been that, and that's fine. It failed in cosmetics. The cosmetics for the characters were just dumb. Sorry, bad design. And now, who is Crystal Dynamics? Solely responsible? Potentially, but there's some serious issues with making this, a gas game when it really should have just been a single player game. Guardians of the Galaxy. Say what you want about that game from 2 years ago. One of the best of the year. Incredible story. James Gunn level written material. And graphically, it was beautiful. Gameplay fantastic. And now these two studios are under the ownership of Embracer Group, which still breaks my heart. I think they should have both been Xbox first-party studios. Tomb Raider would have been a first-party game, which it should have been, and it's not. And it just, things are what they are. I want to go first to Crispy on this. Crispy, look, none of us champion bad scores for the right to point a finger at a console, like, hey, Sony, you suck, or Xbox, you suck. We don't like to do that. But what we do like to do is have adult conversations. And do you feel kind of how I'm feeling about the validation for two studios that were shunned by Square Enix?
I mean, you got to look at it my way and say, I don't know, like, until like Square got more involved or bought the studio, all of a sudden bad things started happening to Eidos and Crystal D. And, regardless of the amount of sales or anything else, you really look at the games that they provided the community. And, that's where I like always champion Xbox, because you can go and play these games at high resolution. It's basically the best they can make it look with the, what console you have. Like, if you have a Series S, you're probably gonna still have a good experience, better than it was on the 360 or something like that. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm like, I see these games having value for years to come, because they're just well made. And Square, everybody's like, oh, okay, they got rid of the Western division. That's fine. Okay, everything's good. They're going to make better games. And then they come out with this. And the exclusivity part, I mean, we always tout and kind of get mad that Xbox doesn't do these type of things. Timed exclusive, whatever you want to call it at this point. I mean, Final Fantasy VII Remake, wasn't it supposed to come out for Xbox? I've seen enough screenshots of people that have seen the date. It was supposed to come out like 6 months later, and
It was actually it was a year. It was supposed to. Like I said, I show it all the time. I have the collector's edition of the PS4 version, and it says console exclusive to spring of the next year. So it was a year, supposedly, quote unquote, a year.
And this is where I look at, and I've seen enough. Okay, like I could look at a game on my TV or my phone and see the nuances, like, and not take everybody doing one part of it and just retweeting it or whatever. I look at what I see, and the problem I have is when they announced the game basically and showed gameplay at one point, and it does not even look close.
No, dude, not even close. It's literally two different games. It's crazy, especially when they show the female character up front on the I would consider it doxed versus what is out there now. It looks like a 360 game. You're 1,000% correct. Yeah.
And I have sat here at times, like, I've watched E3 enough in my life, and I've seen like games like The Last Guardian, okay, which had interesting mechanics at the time, but you're looking at it and it's like a matte painting, and the technology we have right now is not that. And that's where I go and say, like, you look at what Microsoft's going towards. They're going towards UE5 because they're using Unreal in movies, people.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. And Sony they have great proprietary engines. I understand that. But that's not necessarily made for the future. That's more or less, adding on to those engines. And I feel like, scrap everything. Some company, like when people were starting to say that Halo is going to go to UE, I was almost excited. You know what I mean? Because I want to see that aspect. But you're at a point right now where this game is like a big part of the beginning of your year. And Sony's just like, nah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like really, like you couldn't delay it? Because I mean, we're gonna get some kind of announcement at some point, and you know, it's gonna be some future title for next year, people. I mean, unless they got some kind of magical unicorn that is going to do some great things. Until then, you got Spider-Man 2 and you got Forspoken. And that's what you got. And right now, I'm sorry, I've seen enough PlayStation people be like, yeah, no, I'm good with that. You know what I mean? Like, and that's fair. But at the same time, you can't look at Game Pass and call it Game Pass fodder, but most of the supported studios from Microsoft have released actually like, you know, 70 to 80 Metacritic or 90 in some cases. You know what I mean? And they're not even technically owned by Microsoft. That's where you go and say, you could hate on what they're doing. They had layoffs, this and that, but they still continue to deliver.
Yeah.
And that's where I say, stop with the Game Pass fodder, dude, because I'm paying $15. You got to pay 70, bro. This should be on PlayStation Plus.
Oh, dude,
this,
1,000%. It should be on PlayStation Plus. Yeah, it absolutely should be. Now, granted, it's not going to change the review whether or not it's in the service or not. You know, I don't think that it even that it would have mattered, as this game does look like an Xbox 360 game. Like it is not. It's bad. It's just bad. And right now it's at a. What did I have? I think I put it in the chat. I think it was a 66. I got a 6 on IGN. Yeah, I think it's. I mean, it right. Yeah, it was a 66 as of this morning, with 29 reviews. There were two 90s. One site gave it a 95 out of 100, and the other one gave it 90. And like, you know what that's about. That's not even like honestly reviewing the game. They probably just like, hey, listen, we have to, you know, get out there and support PlayStation. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Listen. At the end of the day, again, like I said, this is not cheering on a bad game. This is pointing the finger at Square Enix and saying, you know what? You guys suck. They suck on a multitude of levels. They're terrible publishers. They're even worse developers. And that's it. Okay. And this has nothing to do with, you know, they're supporting PlayStation. This company has gone on record of throwing other studios under the bus, and now it has come to full circle or fruition, whatever terminology you want to use, on how terrible of a developer they actually are. And as Crispy politely suggested, this is Sony's first opening salvo for 2023, and it's not good, folks. It is not good. As an exclusive, as a highly anticipated exclusive, this is a giant F grade. Let's bring in Web Dave into the conversation again. For Dave, this is not championing. Oh, PlayStation sucks. This is looking at a developer who is the culprit and who has consistently gone on record as pointing the finger at other studios. I think this is what they deserve, because this just does put into light, you know, the way they handle their business.
Yeah. I mean, I just, it's disappointing. I had a lot of high hopes for the game when they first showed it off. I thought, wow, that's going to be awesome, and was hoping it would be, you know, on Xbox, and eventually, you know, it will be. And now they're going to have plenty of time to fix it before it gets on Xbox, hopefully, if they can, or whatever they can do to improve it. But you know, the Metacritic score right now stands at 68, and you know, IGN gave it a 60, with comments like Forspoken, flashy combat. It can be fun, but it's not enough to click with the story in the bare bones open world aspect. So you know, it's not great. You know, GameSpot gave it a 50, which is kind of unusual. IGN France also gave it a 50. I mean, there are some 40s out there, but you know, you take that to the extreme, and then you do have a 95 from Game Nexus that's you know, Forspoken is absolutely fantastic. Well, most of the other critics on the page will be wondering what the hell you played.
Yeah, well,
Because
that's clearly a console war, rated game rather than you rating the game for the game. You're rating it for the console, which is just
exactly.
Don't go to Gaming Nexus for your reviews. That's all I can say.
Exactly. Doesn't seem to be real reliable in that aspect. But yeah, no, it's disappointing because I was hoping better for the game. Square Enix, like you said, has definitely come down hard on a lot of their studios. I believe their main focus has been the Final Fantasy 16 as far as where they're spending all their resources and where they're putting all their all their money into. So as a fan of Final Fantasy, even though it's not coming to Xbox, I do still hope it's a good game, but right now they're kind of like, we're gonna have to wait and see. They didn't, not only did they like very extremely limited on who got codes for reviews. There was absolutely none for PC, none. So man, that is highly unusual.
Very telling.
Yeah, and it comes out tomorrow. So we will see what happens then. But I don't know. It's all around it's disappointing, a score. And it's disappointing for the fans who were looking forward to it is what I mean. But there's no mistaking it. There's no way to sugarcoat it or try and come at this with Sony is they needed this to be successful because they only have one AAA title in the pipeline this year so far. Now there may be some other things they drop later on, but right now there's only one we know of it, and that's Spider-Man 2.
Yep.
So they needed this to be a hit, and it's not.
Yeah, and Final Fantasy 16 is an exclusive. I have a feeling that's going to be quality. Again,
me too.
You're right. If there's one franchise they're going to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at, it would be Final Fantasy. That's their bread and butter. It's unfortunate though. We don't even know if that's going to come out because Square Enix is notorious for their delays. So it's scheduled to come out this year. 50-50 on whether or not they actually hit. Especially after Forspoken, they're not going to want to release another game in this kind of condition, especially Final Fantasy game. But listen, let's get Fuzzy. Fuzzy, is this validation for Square Enix as being not only bad publishers but bad developers?
Yeah, and for me, I remember when the demo came out, PTK Blam and Pong were asking me, since they didn't have a PS5 at the time, they were asking me for like my honest feedback, and I tried to keep it concise, but I wound up writing like a 2 or 3 paragraph article for them. But it just seems like Square has kind of lost their way outside of their traditional titles like your Final Fantasies and such. But it just seems like they could have had a hit with this. And I said from get-go, if a different developer was using or was to bring this concept to fruition, I think it would have landed a lot better. I'll just give you my brief 2 cents that I gave them about Forspoken, at least from the demo standpoint. And I know the game is going to be more vast and so forth, but this was just a couple hours of playing the demo. It's not bad, but not great. Interesting RPG concepts with different perks based on nails and different abilities based on like a necklace and cloaks with various buffs and debuffs. Good build and synergy pairings seem possible. I enjoyed the 1 to 2 hour demo. There's a lot of depth and vast distance to cover, but traversal to higher ground could be aided by a climb mechanic similar to that in Assassin's Creed. Like, I guess in the demo, there are abilities that you can kind of like use almost like a grappling hook or like a tether to get to higher spots, but I didn't use those powers or abilities or couldn't figure it out in the demo. But apparently those are going to be in the full-fledged game. But if there was a climbing mechanic, like I said, with Assassin's Creed, that would probably benefit it a little bit, especially considering how big the world is. The world isn't dead, but it feels dated in clusters of enemies. Kind of reminds me of Elden Ring's first area without the hidden passages. Faster pace and less deadly than Elden Ring. Thankfully, not turn based. Like this is more of an action RPG as opposed to like your turn based style. Thank goodness it wasn't turn based. There's projectile, melee, sword, spear, magic abilities with a shield, push, and area of effect, defense magic. Controls are simple and somewhat intuitive. Haptics are present, but simple rumble would have been, able to work. And that's another thing. Like with the whole rumble or with the haptics on the PS5, it doesn't seem like a lot of games are really pushing to give you that immersion, almost like the Astrobot deal. So I just wanted to let them know it like if this is one of those that does eventually come to Xbox, you're not missing out on not having haptics. Kind of feel like the game world translates better for me. Oh wait, no. Kind of feel a game like this would translate better for me if created by Guerrilla Games instead of Square. And I don't want to make this like woke signaling or anything along those lines, but as a person of color, I love seeing more games have a protagonist of color.
1,000%. 1,000%. Yes.
And I would like more games to give it a try, but it just seems like Square didn't quite pull it off. Like and I know some people have had.
They did.
Yeah,
they half-assed it.
Like with like Horizon, Guerrilla definitely did a better job. And I know there were some people that had, objections to that as far as, Alloy versus these tribes and blah, blah, blah. I like a lot of what Guerrilla did in Horizon Zero Dawn and in particular Horizon Forbidden West. And I get this feeling like if they were given that project, if Guerrilla or even Insomniac for that matter, just especially considering the combat aspect of it, this would be a tentpole for Sony. Honestly, like put it in Guerrilla's hands or put it in Insomniac's hands. We're talking about something that would probably hit 90 easily and have a lot better reception across the board. But Square it was almost like they just sent it in as like they, it was like they turned into homework but didn't do the full project type of thing. And it's no knock on Square as a whole, but it doesn't feel like this was as much of an important game to them as Final Fantasy, which of course, Final Fantasy is more of their bread and butter. But I think if they had put more attention into crafting the story behind the protagonist and all of the characters and the storyline itself, it would have made for a better reception. But I just feel that this game had so much potential, but kind of misses. And it's one of those that I'm not buying day one. I enjoyed the demo to some extent, but I'm definitely waiting until this thing is like at, either below 50 or around the 30 price range or something like that when it's on sale. And considering the reviews, it'll probably hit that pretty soon, like within the next couple of months. But
I would imagine in the next couple of weeks, you're going to see this drop in price.
Hey, Boom, somebody was asking in chat if this was a first party game, and it is no, it is.
It is not a first party game. No.
Yeah, made by Square, but this exclusive rights.
It is a time. It is from what we understand. Again, I don't have the contract in front of me. It is the 2-year exclusive that Square has done, but recent ongoings with Square Enix and Sony suggest that this is probably going to be a permanent exclusive. I don't expect this to come to Xbox at all. To be quite honest with you, the same way it was brought to our attention through certain reports that Final Fantasy 16 is never coming to an Xbox. The Silent Hill 2 remake, never coming to an Xbox due to Sony's deals. And that's Sony's, that's how they do their business. Is it frustrating? Sure. But that's the way the cookie crumbles, so to speak. But Crazy Lou Gaming, let's get your final take on this. And we're going to get into some Gears of War confirmation from Shpeshal Nick of the Xbox era. I know he received a significant amount of negative slander regarding his original report of the Gears of War Unreal Engine 5 remake, or whatever you want to call it. And apparently, just to prove his point, or case in point, put out a screenshot, folks, that he would not do if it wasn't real. I don't know how you folks feel about Shpeshal Nick. I happen to like the dude a lot. As a matter of fact, he's going to be one of the panel members on Wednesday's Titanic show. And I do like what he's putting down with this. And we got some confirmation that the Gears collection exists, folks. It does. But listen, let's get Crazy Lou's final take on this. What are your thoughts, brother? Forespoken, more like Forebroken for some people.
Man, I gotta tell you something though. I remember when the demo came out and I saw everybody posting pictures, everything was 720. I was like, man, I hope they delay this game again, because if they release it in January, they're not gonna make ends meet. I mean, I saw everything. I said they're not gonna make it. I was pretty much seeing what happened with Battlefield 2042. When everybody played the demo, it was just a big mess. And when the game finally released, it was still a mess. And over a year, they actually got it better and got it working. So when I saw this thing, I was like, in January, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. And there it is. It came out. And I just saw pictures and I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. And man, I don't know what is going on with Square. Square is having a lot of issues. Square needs a new leadership, and I just hope that whoever comes out and buys it needs to buy it quick, because it's just going downhill from here on.
It's unfortunate. I mean, they were considered by many to be a pioneer in gaming. If you remember, they used to be Nintendo exclusive, right? Up until Final Fantasy VII couldn't release onto the Nintendo platform at the time, because Nintendo wanted to stay with cartridges as opposed to move to disc. And Final Fantasy VII, one of my favorite games, in my top 5 games of all time in the 45 plus years I've been gaming. Absolutely love what they did with the original. Really, really enjoyed what they did with the remake. I'm sorry that it's going to be so many parts, but it's fine. It is graphically, it's gorgeous. Story is great so far. So I will eventually pick up the second part, because I got to still finish the first, but I'm almost done with that.
Have you guys? I got a question for the panel. Have you guys not noticed that a lot of the games that have been released in these past 3 years, they've all had like a little bit of issues?
Oh yes, yeah. Square Enix is just, they're just not the same developer / publisher that they once were. They're just not. It's unfortunate, but listen, Square Enix finds themselves not only in trouble as both a publisher and a developer, they find themselves in trouble financially, because if you remember a couple of months ago, that put out that statement that they can't make these big AAA games like they used to, that they want to find investment help to make some of the their future projects. And obviously that future help is going to come the way of Sony. And I will say that if you're Sony, and you are, you spent the development dollars, which I'm sure they invested in, more so the money to publish this game. To make an exclusive, to drop that bag at Square Enix's feet. You got to be asking yourself, like, what did we do wrong? Well, you backed the wrong horse, is what you did wrong. No pun intended. They just, they didn't deliver. And apparently, even with some, fake scores of 90s and 95s, this game is probably not going to get higher than a 60. It may even go down. And if it does, it's not going to be surprising. But ladies and gentlemen, that's just one of the topics that we're going to get into. I want to bring up the Gears of War situation. I got to go first to Crispy. Crispy, I had dropped in the picture that Shpeshal Nick posted online, and it's very interesting. Obviously, now this originally was posted by the sleuth himself, Eidos Sloth. And you can find him on Twitter, and you should be following this dude at IdleSloth84_. He put out a tweet the other day. Rumors: Shpeshal Nick showed a cropped image of Gears Ultimate Collection and Gears 6. The photo had been taken off of a computer screen and had been cropped so we can see it better. Nick and the person who sent this to Nick doesn't know if it's real or it's not. But I mean, look, if there's one thing that I can trust in Shpeshal Nick from the Xbox era, is that he doesn't go on to report something because he's looking for clicks, likes, or subs. He does, they do have that, rumor mill segment on their program weekly. This has been a very, very hot button topic. Listen, folks, remakes are a thing. And if there is one series that deserves a full-on Unreal Engine 5 remake, to the level of what you saw with, Final Fantasy 7 or Resident Evil 2 or even The Last of Us Part 1. Remakes are a thing. There are new audiences experiencing titles that you know what it is, like if you've been in gaming as long as I have, right? Sometimes, and I'm not speaking for myself, because if you give me a remake of my favorite game, I'm all in. But some of us, it gets lost in translation because you're like, yeah, I played it. Like a perfect example is like Randall Thor. Like he doesn't like going back to play games that have been remade because he's already beaten them. Now he might because of the achievements, because obviously he's the man with the million. But for me, I wouldn't mind experiencing the Gears trilogy. Now, say what you want about the dude bro shooter thing. If there's one particular trilogy in gaming, not just on Xbox, that is literally would be considered a pinnacle aspect of gaming, you got to tip your cap to Gears, man. You got to tip your cap to Rob Ferguson and the team that came up with this all those years ago. That trilogy was amazing from start to finish. Now, again, have your opinions on Gears 4. And Gears 4 was good. It wasn't great. Gears 5 was great. They've done some, different things. You had that, the RTS Gears, which a lot of people really enjoyed. This would come at a time where potentially, as Microsoft, again, I want to use the word potentially, welcomes in thousands, hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of new players from the Sony side. When and if the ABK deal gets done, there is going to be a seismic shift, if you will, in gamers not abandoning Sony, but finding Xbox. Crispy, this trilogy, if we are all believing what we're seeing in front of us and what we're hearing, the trilogy, the Gears of War trilogy remade in Unreal Engine 5 is, to me, chef's kiss. What do you think about this? Could this be, because you said something in the green room that you've talked to people that had just started to experience Gears, and they're like, whoa, I didn't know this game was this good. Could an Unreal Engine 5 version really put the stamp into the floor for Gears?
I mean, let's be honest. Coalition's been working on UE5 for a while, dude. Like that UE5 demo, remember the Matrix demo? Yeah, that was mostly them, dude. Like it's one of those things. Like, what better way than to completely upgrade the first 3 games to send a homage to the Gears fans, but also just put it out there and say, yeah, we are that good. And I'm gonna tell you right now, Coalition, after all the, nobody sitting there like, oh, we're the greatest in the world. You got none of that. The UE5 demo kit, everybody praised it. Everybody was like, Coalition worked on it. Everybody wants to acknowledge, that they're great, but they also don't tout it. They're not like, oh, they are one of the greatest. Put what I just saw from a next gen game Forespoken against Gears 5. It's not happening. And that's where I get into arguments with people like God of War. I'm sorry, dude. I could look at Rise Son of Rome at times and be like, man, that game looks incredible still. I could literally just sit there and be like, wow. But it's Criterion. I mean, they are amazing engine makers and workers. And it just so happens that the coalition's working on one of the most useful engines ever devised. Okay, you cannot take anything away from Epic Games. They know what they're doing when they make an engine. All right. And it just so happens that everybody's touting Hellblade, but it's going to be made in UE5, people. Like, the coalition knows what they're doing, and they need to go back to their roots. And they also, and this is where I love Gears. You can talk about the single player all you want. And I see a lot of people like, oh, a single player is fine in Gears 3 right now. Visually, absolutely. Gameplay wise, sure. But you have to realize that Gears 3 and Gears 2 were huge multiplayer games. Absolutely huge. And you want to tout, somebody that made something what it is. Look at the Horde mode in Gears 2. There was nothing like it until that happened. Don't sit here and tell me you wouldn't want to play with one other person online with none of the crap that you've ever gotten, especially if you're a Gears player. No Gears 4, and no stuff you could put. You got a shield because you take it from a mauler, and you shoot him in the head enough, and you grab that shield, and that is like an extra layer of protection. And then you just shoot dudes until no end. It is one of the hardest game modes I've ever played, but to have it redone and done right, and have, when I shoot a person, I feel like I'm playing Gears 4 or Gears 5, that would be cool. That would be something like there's going to be streamers going crazy for this because it's old school. And that's where I say, like, you gotta, if they're going to do it, you got to do it right. And it's been enough time. I've actually talked about this a few years ago and said, I've heard that this is happening, but it's, I was abrupt in when I thought it was going to happen. I don't know. I feel like at least an announcement needs to happen this year or it's dead. And that's the way I look at it. If it doesn't happen this year, it's dead.
Yeah, no, I sorry about the camera situation. My camera went out for no reason, but yeah, I agree with you. I think that at this point we need to learn more about it for sure. I think that it's look, Gear 6 is years out, folks. How many years out? I don't know because they're not talking about it. But I'm not saying that you could just fill the gap. But who doesn't really honestly want a Gears try? I mean, some people in the chat are like, yeah, Gears. I already played it, so I don't know. The one thing that I will say that has me potentially even more excited for the fact that it's going to be an Unreal Engine 5, folks, is we all know, like film, when you're developing a game, there are things that are left on the cutting room floor that don't make it into a game. You saw that with Gears Ultimate Edition. If you remember, they had the PC level that was originally exclusive to a PC that was with Marcus and Dom. It was a level that was originally left out of the 360 version because they couldn't add it because of the technology at the time. And when Gears Ultimate came out, they added it. They could potentially add some things that we've never seen before for Gears 2 and 3. So, I mean, I don't know. Let's get Fuzzy Belvedere in on the conversation. Fuzzy,
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, what Crispy had to say makes a lot of sense. If they don't start talking about this and it doesn't come out this year, then it's probably dead. Do you believe the rumors?
I mean, they make sense. I mean, we've kind of talked about this in the background for some time, especially considering that they're moving to UE5, and they've always been like the wizards of Unreal Engine anyway. And what better way to kind of stretch their legs and show what they're working with, kind of thing, than to just do the remaster in UE5. I think that's, if it doesn't happen, it's almost like the biggest missed opportunity of the century, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it would give, I guess, a whole new set of players the access to the games in a fidelity that everybody can go ooh and all about, in the sense that, like, just like what we saw with Hive Busters, just what we saw with Gears of War 5 and stuff, the graphical detail that they put, and that's what UE4, imagine all of the previous Gears in UE5 with them taking that same level of detail into those games. I think it has to be more than just rumor. It has to be something in the works. And if it's not in the works, they need to get on it. Especially if they're listening to this show, somebody needs to at least have them do that. Like, I know they're supposed to do a small project in UE5 before they even tackle Gear 6, but
Right.
if it's not the remaster, then I hope it's something else to knock our socks off type of thing. But I think it's something that they need to do, and ever since the Master Chief Collection was fixed and updated and constantly supported, I think this one would probably wind up hitting the ground running and just be I guess you could say a salute to the fans and bring on new fans before they even dive into making Gear 6, and it would be a nice segue up until Gear 6. So yeah,
well, I mean,
something has to be in the works.
And I agree. I think something absolutely has to work for sure. Listen, let's get Crazy Lou, and then we'll bring Dave in on the conversation. Then we'll move on to Halo. Crazy Lou, Marcus Fenix is an iconic character. And his his introduction, him, Dom, Coltrane, Bard, every one of them, they're all iconic characters. To potentially see them return in a Master Chief X-esque type of collection, I think would do justice for the IP, simply because, well, it's been a while since Gears 5 came out. That obviously Gear 6 is going to be a continuation of that story. It would be pretty cool to see this come to fruition. Where do you fall on seeing an Unreal Engine 5 version of Gears trilogy?
Oh man, 100% they got to do it. I mean, especially since Netflix is even working on a animated TV series. So if all that hype comes back, I mean, people are going to want to play this game. So why not bring it back? I mean, they should. They got to bring it back sooner or later. It's a way to spice it up to to people to watch the anime and for people to jump up back to the game and play it. Because yeah, we already got a 2015 Gears of War remaster. Why won't we? Why don't we get all of them back and make it a collection? Why not? I mean, seriously, if it happens, I hope they do, and I hope they deliver it this year, because hey, we need Gears. We miss it. We miss it. Gears of War 6, like you said, is probably years away. Probably like what, 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, bring back that collection, bring back that multiplayer, bring back all the stuff we love, and man, we're gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, I think so. Now, again, at the end of the day, the point of bringing for fans like us, to bring back a series redone or remade in a top tier engine in Unreal Engine 5 would be awesome. But at the same time, look, this is an iconic trilogy. One of my biggest gripes with Microsoft has been they seem to be the last one on the list of the three bigs to incorporate history with their legacy IPs. They need to do more. Yes, Fable's coming back. Awesome. Yes, Perfect Dark is coming back. Even better. But they have so many more IPs that they could be working with. This is one of them. I say bring it back. But, Dave, Crazy Lou mentioned something pretty interesting. He says that the Netflix, we know, has announced that they're going to be doing a film and an animated series. Right? That's confirmed by Netflix. That has been confirmed by Microsoft. That has been confirmed by the coalition. But like I said in the opening, it has been reported as early as the beginning of the weekend that Sony's Last of Us Part 1 remake for the PlayStation 5 saw a 238% increase in sales because of the series. Now, the series is very well done. Listen, this is how you generate sales for an older IP. It makes sense to exactly what Crazy Lou said. You have a film and an animated series coming out, why not have a matching or at least even if it releases this year, a remade trilogy to get people excited? Vice versa, whether it's the film first and then the game, or the game first and then the film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean that makes sense. I get the feeling from this that if this is true, which we believe that there's a high probability that it is, that this would be a really cool game to announce at like E3.
100%. Yeah, the people
This
would go
would be
crazy.
something that would, because it would be a good fill, maybe to the end of the year, something that comes in, a little later. It's not, yes, it's kind of been done, but there's a reason why they do these compilation type things for people that haven't necessarily played them before, and also it'd be something that'd be great to be on Game Pass with, like you said, bonus material, things that were left on the cutting room floor.
Mm-hmm.
All those things make perfect sense for why you want to do one. Plus, it's it could be one of the projects that they were working on to help them build up their the engine. Oh my god.
UE5.
UE5. Geez, thanks, man. I think I need some medication. But UE5's work on Gears 6, which I do hope they go back to Gears of War in the title. That's just my personal preference. But yeah, I think that would be definitely something that would it makes sense. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, Nick will have egg on his face for sure. I'm just kidding.
Listen, at the end of the day, whether he has egg in his face or not, he heard it from a viable source. And like I said,
I'm just playing.
No, I know you are. I'll put it to this way: he's not afraid to be wrong, and neither am I. Like I said, if you get it wrong, you just come out there and say, "Hey, folks, I got it wrong." Such is life. But he has heard this from multiple sources, people that he trusts, and I trust Nick. And I hope as a fan of Gears, of a fan of Marcus Fenix, I hope that he does get his own dedicated collection, very similar to what the Master Chief collection is now, just for Gears. I think that would be awesome.
Can I jump in real quick and say something?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
All right. This is an example. Though. Look at the Last of Us TV series. I mean, after the TV series, their sales spiked, right away with the game.
Yeah. I mentioned that 236%.
That's insane. That's insane.
Insane. And that is what you want to do. You want to bring in new fans, and how you do that is you have a hit TV series, which could potentially be Gears, in a film or an animated series, and you have a remade game in one of the classic trilogy redone in Unreal Engine 5. That's how you bring the people back who are old-time Gears fans, but you also bring in new fans, and new fans equal new money, new subscriptions, new console sales. I mean, again, I don't have a business degree, folks, but it makes too much sense to me. Let me catch up with some of the super chats. I'm going to get into the Halo topic because I have a lot to say on that. Jesse DeBarrios drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "And imagine being the pioneer of making games $70 and calling it quality tax. LOL, I am not seeing it here." He's talking about Forespoken. Yeah, I agree. Drawn TJ drops several very generous $5 super chats. And the first one, he says, "Hey, I got to ask Fuzzy, is it true that Forza Motorsport is going to have a free roam mode? Because I heard people saying that." Any comment to that, Fuzzy?
There was in the, I guess you could say, the beta tests that I wasn't NDA'd on. Whenever they had also on the Xbox console or the Xbox One play tests and stuff, I don't know if that's going to be the case for the final. Like, that was early on and haven't heard much in the past year or two.
Okay. Thank you for that, brother. Drawn TJ drops an additional $5 super chat and says, "I can't wait to be on. I'll be on the show Wednesday. I'm going to be a little late, but I'll make it." That's fine, brother. We will get you there, and we're gonna have a lot to say. I'm looking forward to that Xbox show this Wednesday. Drawn TJ drops an additional $5 super chat and says, "If I could have two games come back as a remake, I would choose Phantasy Star Universe, Ambient Luminous, and Mech Assault 2 Lone Wolf. Yeah, Mech Assault, Phil Spencer has talked about that. It's a licensing thing. He wants to do it, but he just can't. The Mech Warrior license is all gummed up, unfortunately. Michael Mooney drops a very generous £5 super chat and says Xbox development team shouldn't talk about its work until it's fully playable start to finish. Remember Master Chief Collection used Unreal to host the different games. Yeah, I mean that's been Microsoft's Achilles heel, so to speak, when it comes to them making these announcements. They announce it and they're, they kind of get, egg on their face. Hopefully that's not the case with a lot of stuff they've told us about, that everyone delivers, high quality stuff. And we're going to see this year what all that come to fruition. But folks, I got to get into Halo because, look, like I said in the opening, I don't have to tell you how many hours that I've played in Halo to be, for my opinion, to be validated. But I have almost 13 days in the game, Halo Infinite specifically. I was one of the few reviewers that gave this game proudly a 10 out of 10 in both single player and multiplayer. Loved what 343 did. With all the controversy that has surrounded it, they have delivered a game, in my opinion, that is absolutely incredible to play. The gunplay in it is phenomenal. It's probably, again, it's one of my favorite multiplayers to jump back into right now. The problem is that they failed to deliver a game that is considered a service game. It's a live service game, and they have failed the community in regards to consistent updates and maps and guns and different things that we have heard about. I understand for a lot of people, Forge is a thing. Forge is not my thing. I want to play on these maps, but I like playing with randos because I don't have a lot of the time dedicated to sitting on a couch for 3 hours with a bunch of my friends to play on these new maps. When these maps finally come into rotation where you just pick up and play, then I'll come back to Halo. But here's the problem, folks. The problem is that we just saw, and we just got reported, and I have the report in front of us right now. The story comes the way of Windows Central. It was written by Brandon Lowry. This was updated as soon as yesterday. And we have learned that over 1/3 of 343 Industries has been laid off. There are a lot of developers, former and current, that have come out against this. That have come out to say that leadership at 343 Industries has been nothing short of chaotic at best. And the reason why the game is in this state is because of that said leadership. As a matter of fact, I have in front of me right now a former 343 Industries developer who is currently, and I believe he's at Respawn. Yes, senior encounter designer for Jedi Survivor, currently at Respawn, former senior multiplayer designer at Halo. He has also worked with LucasArts. And he goes on to say several things. I was mad, and his name is Patrick Wern, W-R-E-N. He's at Wit Darkstar on Twitter if you want to follow him. He says, I was mad that friends and ex-colleagues were hurt due to a road of choices that led to this outcome outside of their control. I felt like I had to say something, even if that did potentially risk opportunities for me in the future. I'm not looking to break NDAs or do a tell-all. He goes on to say, the point wasn't to pardon my friends, shit talk, but to finally call out the lack of accountability and how that affected others. Failure is seen as bad for business, but it should be a step towards something greater for it. Can you really move forward without experimenting and making a mistake? And finally, he goes on to say the difference between bad and good leadership is that good leadership admits when they're wrong. They try to do what they think is the best because they believed in it. Sometimes that decision may not be, but good leaders take accountability in their decisions regardless. Look, at the end of the day, management is all I could say of what's going on at 343 Industries. We got, and again, I'm going to pull it up because I have it here, of course, in the DM. We got a post which I thought was at best garbage. Pardon my French. From 343 leadership, where they simply posted, "Hey, Halo is here to stay." That's not how I would have done it. I would have come out, the current leader of 343 Industries, which let me just find the post exactly, and I want to read it verbatim as to what exactly they said. Hold on just a second. Let me find it. Look, the situation, quite frankly, is that at this point, does anyone who is a Halo fan in this community right now have faith that 343 Industries is going to deliver? I mean, let's be honest. I'm polling the 400 plus people here. Do you have faith based on what has transpired in the last 2 years since 2020? Well, actually now 3 years since Halo Infinite was shown at that July show and delayed a year, and to what we got now. Does anyone honestly, wholeheartedly feel that with everything that has happened, 1/3 of the development team gone? From what we understand, a lot of talented people. Does anyone in this room right now believe that 343 Industries could deliver? Because if you are saying that, then you have a hell of a lot more faith than I do, because I don't. I think the game that we're playing is amazing, but there are still deep holes that need to be filled.
Boom, boom. The game is free to play. This is the problem. This is where we, multiplayer free to play. I mean, you look at foundations of companies like Fortnite, hello, even PUBG, that's still around, people. People play that all over the place. And guess what? Rocket League. How about that game? That game is like, I continue to see it on whatever feed I'm on, or there's always somebody doing something wild in Rocket League. Like, you look at these free to play games and you have a lot of competition, and they give you content, people. They give you content. 343, you have failed at content.
Mm-hmm.
You should have stayed just on game. It's free to Game Pass players, and I guarantee you would have a different reaction. You know what I mean? I almost feel like it would be more supportive and this and that. But at this point, the highest part of the game is the campaign, from what I've seen, over what people have said and I've experienced myself. Now, the gameplay is solid, but there's a point in time where free to play supersedes gameplay, and you need content to continue to play that game and possibly purchase a cosmetic or something like that. Yeah, I don't hear any of that. Not even the being able to purchase anymore. They completely failed at the content of the game.
Yep.
And that's where it's time for a change. They need somebody that has a sole focus. I feel like they're one way or the other. You gotta be somewhat in between, but also have a clear goal to the promised land. And I don't feel they're that way.
Yeah. Look, I'm gonna say this. I have the official 343 Industries tweet. And like I said, folks, as a fan, as someone that has invested as much time as I have into Halo Infinite, this disgusts me. And I'm going to be honest with you. You get it fair here. I don't pile on the rabbit, so to speak, on any one studio, but this is not how you handle the layoffs. This is not how you handle the rumors coming out of Jason Schreier. You know how I feel about that rat, right? This is not how you handle it. You get in front of a camera like I'm right now, and you pour your heart into that camera, telling the fans, I understand your frustration. We understand your disappointment. Right now, 343 is a mess, but I promise you, as such and such leader, I'm going to make things better. It's going to take time. I need people to have patience and understanding as we try and shift through everything that has occurred. That's how you handle it. Like a true champion, you talk to your fans. That's not how this was handled. This was handled with a crappy post that was put up as a picture with no context. And I'm going to read it verbatim. You tell me if I'm wrong. 343 Industries, it says, that's the logo. Halo and Master Chief are here to stay. Really? Okay. Because you said so. 343 Industries will continue to develop Halo now and in the future, including epic stories, multiplayer, and more of what makes Halo great. Really? Because Halo hasn't been great in a long time. I love the single player of Infinite, but I'm pissed that we're not getting a continuation that they promised. And this comes the way of Pierre Hintz, who is the studio head currently. How much longer, I don't know. I am sorry, folks. If I lose subs for being honest or being, I'm being as respectful as I can. I'm not a developer. I don't know what it goes into making games, but I'm a consumer. And as someone, again, who has poured his heart and soul into the review that I did and has many hours that I have played of that game, this is not the way you do business. I'm sorry. Crispy, you jumped in. I want to go to you first on this. This is not how you handle the very public situation that's going on at 343 Industries. Where do you am I onto something as the leader of the studio? You get in front of a camera and you go out and you tell people, hey, listen, check out this post. I'm speaking from the heart here.
Or just don't say anything at all. We've seen it from many studios, many studio heads. Sometimes it's better just not to say anything and just keep your mouth shut and, speak with your work. And, once again, it just seems like a defensive, outcry. It's hard to be a developer in that studio right now because you see what other studios are capable of, especially being in, Microsoft publishing. You know what I mean? Like you're about to hear about Starfield for months upon months till the end of the year. It's going to be Starfield talk, and these guys aren't used to this. They're Halo. Think about that. There's Halo, Gears, Forza. Everybody remember? Well, Forza they keep on shooting right through the goal, and they're just making everything look easy. You know what I mean? Whether it be Turn 10 or Playground. I mean, really think about that. They have both made incredibly, amazing racing games and having two different, feels to them. And I think that's something to say about that. And then also, we start hearing about other studios. Like we just talked about Gears. I mean, the Coalition's no joke. You could say what you want. Everybody remember that they went and helped at 343? Everybody? Do you remember? Because I remember. This is where I look at, Obsidian, dude. The amount of talent that is in that studio is impeccable. I mean, you look at the games they make and they seem different in every aspect. Whether it be grounded with a live service aspect. And it continues to just destroy. Like I see zero complaints about Grounded, people. And that started, the dev team probably doubled in my opinion, but it started with a very minute amount of devs from Obsidian and it's become something great. And you still have Avowed sitting there. And then we see the tweet, from Slothman himself. And, you start seeing stuff. And it's like, dude, these guys, I mean, Outer Worlds 2, you never know when that could drop because, Obsidian's sneaky. And then you got Ninja Theory. I mean, Hellblade, talk of the town. So 343 sitting here like, we need to change things because you have a free-to-play. That's an Xbox IP that's a free-to-play, people. That's Halo, free-to-play. And yet it's not being played. There's a problem here, and it needs to be fixed.
I mean, look, I see some people in the chat saying that there were not any promises of single player content. Well, if you've actually played the game and you finished it, you realize that the Endless was the next scheduled DLC to come after, because we were going to get that while they remember, this was a 10-year plan for Halo, right? We weren't going to get a Halo 6 or 7 or 8. We were going to get DLC or continuations of the story in the form of which was expected, the Endless, which was in the game. The Flood was supposedly going to make an appearance at some point. I mean, Zeta Halo is where the Flood was founded, if you read the books, ladies and gentlemen. So don't make excuses that it wasn't planned. Of course it was planned, because what do you do after the Halo Infinite? You finish it, whether that be single player or even in co-op. Well, what do? You just run around? No, you have to continue the story, and they have to listen. Make all the excuses you want to make for 343. I'm not making any. Fuzzy, I want to go to you first on this.
Mhm.
I've said this privately, and I will say it publicly. When the ABK deal is done, first order of business is to hand this franchise over to Infinity Ward or Treyarch. Now, that may piss a lot of people off, and if it does, it's okay. Get angry. Get angry that a Halo fan who has put as much time as he has into the franchise wants someone to deliver the content. And if you were to put it into the hands of a team like Infinity Ward or like Treyarch to tell their listen, it doesn't have to continue Halo Infinite. Let them tell their story. I've been saying for a while, and we've heard many people say this, what if there was an ODST type of third-person survival horror with the Flood? There are so many avenues. There are so many stories that could be told that have not been told with Halo. It's crazy. And I'm sorry to say we have heard, and again, I don't know, whether, I mean, it's conflicting for sure. When you look at what was said by 343, that Halo was here to stay. But at the same time, we also heard from different avenues that they were going to treat this like Star Wars and allow for different developers and publishers to take on Halo. I want to see it. What are your thoughts on this, man? Should people be angry? I mean, do I have a right to be angry?
Yeah, and I think the big thing is, when it comes to the Halo franchise, kind of like what you had hinted to earlier, if Mario was, handled like this as far as with Nintendo, there would be a lot of riots in the streets, kind of thing. And I get gaming development during a pandemic is hard, and I still wonder if someone's not paying attention to the whole, I guess, contractor deals as far as the state of Washington, where they're headquartered. It almost seems like if there's anything that could be in the way of holding them back from, constantly being able to, meet their milestones and things like that, having it where you have to use contractors for no longer than 18 months just seems like something that they should figure out a workaround or something, because by the time you get people, acclimated with the slip space engine, now they're moving on to whatever other job, or you basically have to let them go and then bring them back. But at that point, most of the time, since they're not going to be hired full time, they're finding jobs elsewhere at other studios, because there's always jobs available in other studios. It just may not be, the studio that they want, but hey, it's a job. So if you're having like retention issues in that regard, training issues where you train somebody for a set amount of time, and then it comes down to, oh, you trained them and now you have to let them go, and then you guys start the process all over again. It seems like that needs to be fixed. I understand they laid off like a third of the team. Hopefully those people find a good place to land, or they get somehow scooped back up and rehiring in some form or fashion. But whatever the case may be, if 343 is not going to be able to stay on top of things with the Halo franchise, open it up to other teams that may be willing to work on it within, Xbox Studios or even Bethesda, or after, like you said, after ABK, someone like Treyarch or Infinity Ward or something along those lines. Like, one of the things for me, not being a full-on Halo player, I'm more of the Forza player, so I'm looking at it from a little bit of a different perspective. If you want to get somebody like me interested that plays Division 1 and 2 nonstop, like
Mhm.
almost daily, do a third person deal. And it's not that you need something
It
that
doesn't have to be. Someone actually put in the chat, does it have to be Master Chiefs? Absolutely
no,
not. Who doesn't want to play as Locke to find out what happened to Team Osiris
yeah.
from 5? That still hasn't been uncovered. Who doesn't want to take a chance to use Buck in a third person survival horror game to see a follow up to ODST?
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many stories and so many characters. Yes, Master Chief is the guy, and I'd like to see his story continued in Infinite. But as in regards to having another team do it, let them tell their own story.
Yeah, I think there's just so much lore and stuff that they could, focus on or continue as far as storyline throughout that Halo franchise, that it just seems odd that they've come to this point where they've had to let people go. They're still not quite on the cadence that you would expect from a free to play game in
Yep.
2023 or
Yep.
even 2019 for that matter. It just seems like they're still playing catch up as far as seasons and things along those lines. So at some point, hopefully there's another round table and they can figure out what teams they need to work with, or any collaborations amongst other Xbox or Microsoft studios, or if it needs to go to a third party outside deal like what they used to do with like the Halo Wars franchise and such. So something definitely has to give. I mean, yes, you're never going to please your entire fan base, and that goes with any franchise out there. But you at least need to at least listen to those that are kind of at wit's end at this point, that we're looking for continuation to the Infinite story. Because I mean, I haven't completed it. The only Halo I've completed is 5. And from a lot of those that I know that have completed Infinite, it's like it's kind of a cliffhanger kind of thing. So you would expect that there's going to be some sort of DLC or expansion of that story, especially when they put out in the open that it was a 10-year, it was going to be a 10-year deal with Infinite, which, yes, I know other developers have done the same thing. Famously, even Bungie with Destiny 1. That was supposed to be 10 years. Well, it kind of was. It just took making the Destiny 2 and doing what they're doing now. But at some point they got to figure out what they meant by that 10-year support, if it was just a free to play, or if it was that they were looking to expand on the story just in subsequent sequels or spin-offs or what have you. But at least at that point, whatever it is, they need to stick to it, get it going. And once it's at least in the works and it looks like it's going to have a solid foundation where you're not going to have stoppages or a lot of people leaving the studio or the team, then put your best foot forward and make some sort of announcement, or at least give a heads up. Hey, this is the direction we're going. Expect this type of content in the next couple of years. I mean, if you can't deliver it in like a normal 2 and 3 year cycle, let people know within that 10 years you will see this. But by God, make sure you stick to it. But that's all I got. It just, hopefully things improve from here on out, because we've had a lot of bad news coming from that team and that studio, and hopefully now they've I won't say that they've hit rock bottom or anything like that, but hopefully now everything is roses and rainbows from here on out type of thing.
Well, I mean, good stuff. Sorry about that. Web Dave, let's get your opinion on this, brother. What happens now? Where do we move forward with Halo Infinite? I mean, should the fan base be confident?
Well, when it first dropped, when it first came out, actually when it first got delayed, and people were like, "Oh my goodness, why is it delayed? What's going on?" And then when it came out, and the single player campaign was awesome. It was amazing with the grappling hook. A lot of people really enjoyed it. I know I did. Loved playing it, loved it. Still enjoy playing it right now. Going through it again with my son because now you can do the co-op campaign online, and so we're playing it from scratch. And we're enjoying the hell out of it as the campaign, even though I've already played it, but he hadn't, and he's like, "Well, we're still on legendary." Of course, he's carrying me through a lot of places because I'm not as good as him, but it's still I'm having a lot of fun with it. But what's the future of it now? Oh man, I, obviously, they basically cut the rug and said, okay, cool, we're reorganizing, rethinking it. Let some people move back to other positions. Let other things go. 343 is trying to keep everyone in the perspective that they are still going to be working on. There is supposed to be some more, um, you know, seasons drop, as it were. We will see what they add to it. I don't know. Am I worried about it? I'm kind of like you, Boom. I've kind of moved on. It's like it's you know, do I want it to succeed? Yes, I love the franchise. I think it's great. Um, but maybe it is time for them to take a little break before they come back to finish the fight. I mean, maybe their 10-year plan is to wait 10 years before they actually come out with something new. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
if they want this, if they're going to continue with the free to play model, they need to they need to continue the work. They can't abandon the work.
Right.
And the fact that we don't have any scheduled single player content coming on the back end is a big problem. It's definitely a big problem. But listen, let's get Crazy Lou Gaming's final opinion, and then we will get to the super chats, and then we will wrap up today's new edition of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. Crazy, what are your thoughts? You've heard everyone who's had to say something about the game. What are your thoughts?
Man, I mean, I was sitting here while you guys were talking. I was just looking at some stats because we love numbers and we love to talk about numbers, right? So here's the thing, though. When I saw this news and I heard that they only had 130 developers working on Halo, I was like, mm-mm, that's not enough people to work on such a big game like what Halo is, especially the stuff they want to do. They need to hire more people. I mean, if you look down and you see, like, for example, Destiny's Bungie, right? They started with 450. Now they have 900 people working on Destiny. Fortnite has, I think it has like 700, 800 people working on Fortnite. PUBG started with 35 and now they're at 70, right? So, but PUBG is not as big as Halo. That is the truth, though. Halo is such a big game that demands a lot of content, a lot of stuff. And hearing that they only have 130 developers, that's just too small. They should add more people to work on it in order to get this game working. I mean, 130 people on this game is just not enough, especially with all the content, all
Well,
the
they
stuff
they had 400 people working on the
they
game.
had.
Yeah, they had
Oh,
400, and they lost 130 plus people due to they lost over a third.
Oh, they lost over a third. Oh my God, I read it the wrong way then. Oh
Mm.
my God. So okay, but again, still 400 people for that game is still not big enough. It's still not big enough for that. I mean, they need to add more people to work on that game. Like I said, Halo is such a massive game, such a demanding game. I mean, and the idea they had, like, just to make more single player content around the whole Halo thing, and seriously, if they don't get people to help these team out to deliver, I mean, this is where it's gonna be at. I mean, they gotta get people to work on the multiplayer content to deliver all that multiplayer content and hire some people that have actually worked on that. Because here's something I've seen, and I think this is what happened though. They gave this team an opportunity to work on such a big game, right? But they have worked this game in this way, and this is like a new thing for them. But if you're gonna give them a new thing, I mean, you gotta get the tools to help them out to deliver on this new thing, which is something I'm seeing because hey, look, they couldn't even do what they were supposed to do. They like supposedly they're gonna give us, like, what was it, a year around? They're gonna give us some single player content every year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of multiplayer content they have not delivered. Maybe they need that. They need somebody who has more experience of this type of games than they do, because they do not have this type of experience. I mean, all they have was Halo 4, Halo 5, right? And they have never done a free to play game or anything like that. And never like, let me sit here and add more content, Never. Just made a game, that's it, boom, it's out, go ahead and play it. That's all they did. But now, if you're gonna switch yourself and work on this type of things, you really do need somebody to guide you. You really do need somebody to help you. Really do need somebody to show you how to deliver on this game. And if they don't have it, they're just not gonna do it, not gonna make it. That's the truth.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Listen, this has been a great show. Over 400 people showed up. Thank you so much for being here. Let me catch up on super chats, and then we'll get everyone out of here. Rain G4 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "I want a Marcus Fenix prequel to Gears that led him going to prison." That sounds dope. I would definitely take that as a smaller project. Jesse De Barrios drops a very generous additional $10 super chat and says, "Halo has." Halo, as far as Halo is concerned, I think it's time for the Master Chief to hang up the helmet for a while and make way for Gears to be the face. It's been handled better, and I think that it has the potential. I mean, there's something to be said for that. Raiden Blade, who's been a channel member for over a year, drops a very generous £5 super chat and says, "Create other storylines within Halo, the universe. Just have other teams working on them, but leave 343 Industries on the main game. Remember campaign and multiplayer." Yeah, absolutely. Drawn TJ drops a $2 super chat, says, "What about the battle royale for Halo?" Yeah, that Certain Affinity is working on that as we speak. Hopefully, it does have legs. Writer for Life 76 drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "I think the problem with the Master Chief is that they need to make him less robotic. Make new Halo third person, give Master Chief a couple of specialized weapons you can upgrade and make powerful, and his armor." Yeah, I'd love to see it. I've been saying it for years. I'd love to see a third person Halo game. I don't even care if it's Master Chief. I would just love a third person, like just to see it different from a different point of view. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this week's new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. This is Double Barrel Gaming, and I'm going to tell you to stick around. This week is going to be big with a lot of big news. Wednesday show is expected to show off a lot of stuff. Maybe even we'll get a surprise or three. I'm looking forward to that, and we will have you covered here. Let's get to the outros. First, we'll start with our very special guest, Crispy Bomb. Sell your brand, brother. Talk about where people can find you on other podcasts, and more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Oh man, gentlemen, what a great time this was. Shout out to the chat. Got a little spicy after I talked. Thank you for that. It makes me think you guys are like, thinking about stuff. That's the whole goal, man. Have a conversation. Doesn't have to be like mean or nothing like that. Just have a conversation. But it's at Chris Baum on Twitter, Chris Baum 28 Xbox Live. You can find me tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on the Retro Renegades. We got 7 p.m. Wednesday on Primetime Gaming. And of course, the next podcast, 8 p.m. Thursdays. We'll see you then.
Thank you so much, brother. Can't wait for that. Web Dave, sell your brand, brother. Talk about the interview you dropped this morning, and where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel, but more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Oh, thanks, Boom. Appreciate you having me. I always love being on here, and it's been fun for sure. That's awesome. It's Outbreak Gamers at Outbreak Gamers on YouTube. The newest interview I have up is with Elaine Gomez Sanchez, and she is a senior game designer at Brassline Entertainment, and it is an awesome interview. She's an amazing person, and I recommend everybody go listen to that one.
Yeah.
Not just for me, but to find out more about her, because she is really awesome. And looking forward to this week's show. She got some great ones coming up, and I definitely would think I would hope that you continue to play the intro was amazing, and I think you ought to play it as your outro too, buddy. I'm telling you right now, that was great.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you so much for that, brother. Definitely appreciate the help that you do for the channel behind the scenes, and we want to see your channel grow as well. Fuzzy Belvedere, sell your brand, brother. Talk about the best place for all and everything racing on your YouTube channel. Where can people reach out to you on social media?
Always fun being on here with you guys, and always fun when we have special guests like Crispy on here. But man, oh man, just glad to be a part of this, and for everyone here watching, glad to interact with you guys here and also on social media. And if you want to hear any of my ramblings on anything gaming related, just follow me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on Breakfast with Boom on Friday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on this channel. And then look forward to seeing you guys next Monday afternoon on Xbox Lunch Break Special right here on this channel. Look forward to
Thanks
seeing
so
you
much.
then.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here, brother. And last and no way least, all the way from Aruba, Crispy, Crazy Lou Gaming. Sell your brand, brother. Talk about the Xbox International podcast, where they can tune in, subscribe there, but more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Well, guys, you can find me at Twitter at Crazy Louis Gaming, where I say all my good mornings and say all my cool and crazy stuff. Also, you guys can find me here, sitting here, chilling with you guys with Fuzzy, Mr. Webday, and Mr. BoomStick at the Xbox Launch Week Special. And last but not least, Xbox International Podcast. This week we have Jedi Knight Peter over there as a guest.
Nice.
We're going to have a fun time with Silent Side for the Big Boom and Sour Blow at 7 p.m. ET.
Nice, brother. Looking forward to that show as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for all the super chats that have come in. We super appreciate them. They help the channel more than you could possibly know. And obviously, they help fund the big giveaways. And we do have a couple of one that was announced and the others we will announce in time. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.